Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation to speak today. I highly appreciate it. Actually, I wish I was with you today in a physical presence, but I couldn't leave Europe, so please forgive me. Today, I'm talking about a vision for equality, diversity, and inclusivity, EDI or DEI, after already 1/4 of the century and several initiatives that were activated in science for the support of EDI itself. Actually, EDI is widely recognized as a catalyst for scientific development. And in fact, several scientific associations, including JpGU, EGU, AGU, GSA, and many others, have started already more than 20 years ago initiatives in support of networking, in support of diversity. Indeed, for the global dimension of the several research questions in geosciences, it is recognized that it is extremely useful to have a confrontation of different interpretation, different information, data, different solutions. Actually, EDI is not new. If we look at the history, already at the time of the Roman Empire, we get witnesses of protests in support of women's rights. In particular, in 1848, the Seneca Fall Convention marked the origin of feminism, which later on, for almost 70 years, focused on a single issue, namely women's suffrage. After the Second World War, a new phase for feminism started, the so-called Second Wave, which focused on cultural equality issues such as ending discrimination. A third wave of feminism started in the early 1990s with an understanding of gender as outside binary. A fourth wave started in 2008 and is continuing into the present day. It is a movement that is connected through technology and combines politics, psychology, and spirituality in an overarching vision in support of equality, diversity, and inclusivity. In geosciences, as I said, particular attention to EDI started in the early 2000s, after the universal recognition of the essential contribution by the female social capacities. Within EGU, for instance, initiatives towards gender equality were promoted from 2005-2007, culminating in the activation in EGU of a EDI working group in 2018, which later on, in 2022, the working group was transformed into a formally recognized EGU committee. The results in terms of diversity of the attendance at the EGU General Assembly were impressive. If we look at the statistics of diversity of attendance in the past 10 years, we see a marked improvement in terms of gender diversity, geographical diversity, diversity of career stage, and many others. Indeed, these achievements are remarkable. We have to recognize it. Gender balance 20 years ago was still a dream. Now the situation is markedly improved. And there are several scientific contributions which quantitatively demonstrated that EDI is beneficial to scientific achievement. It's not just a matter of our feeling that the environment is better. It is a matter of quantitative measurements of scientific progresses which benefited from EDI, and some of these references are reported over the screen now. However, EDI also experienced challenges. We must recognize it because from the criticism that we received, we need to find the way efficient solutions to improve in the future, particularly along this critical time. The EDI movement indeed addresses fundamental questions related to human rights, so it is to be expected that we get some criticism. In the context of science, EDI advocates for rethinking the structure of scientific associations, rethinking the organization of meetings, and, above all, rethinking the methods and concepts used for recruitment of researchers and academics. So again, it is to be expected that EDI gets some criticism. As with any initiative that challenges conventional attitudes, the push for EDI has indeed raised concerns, which can be described as a kind of resistance to change. This is a well-documented psychological phenomenon. And there is one important thing that we have to keep in mind. Those who resist change are often less involved in decision making and perceive themselves as having less power. Indeed, in several occasions, EDI experienced a lack of support from the very groups it aims to benefit. This is an important remark that we have to keep in mind. In some of the cases, the criticism came inside the EDI community. And in my opinion, these challenges, these criticisms, are essentially related to reconciling equality with diversity. So let's try to better reflect on such criticism that we got. I tried to make an effort because, as I said, from the criticism we have to find the ideas for moving forward. This slide reflects my reflections. It's just personal thoughts. If you have any comment, please contact me because I'm really interested in trying to brainstorm about the criticism we received. One of the arguments that was raised is that diversity, equality, and inclusivity has become ideological, which means rigid in its adherence to a doctrine and resistant to evidence-based belief updating. EDI is sometimes considered responsible for the introduction of the so-called positive bias, namely a bias against categories that have been previously favored. Several other concerns have evolved around the meaning of gender difference and the multiplication of genders. Indeed, the effort to recognize any individual gender identity has expanded the number of recognized genders, therefore introducing ambiguity in the concept of EDI. And another reason of concern, and I think it is extremely important to keep it in mind, is given by action that in turn were considered limiting the human rights instead of supporting the human rights. And I'm referring to the cases engaging issues of free speech, where speakers who were expressing opinion, critical opinion with respect to EDI, these speakers were uninvited or impeded to talk. And this has generated a lot of criticism, particularly inside the EDI community. And more generally, concerns have been raised regarding purported indoctrination and expectation in relation to the definition of equality initiatives, which once again allegedly restricted free speech. I think that in science, a reason of concern inside the EDI community has been the attitude of resisting to diversity of opinions, diversity of scientific interpretation. And this is one more thing to keep in mind if we want to move forward. This slide resumes barriers that, in my opinion, should be mitigated or eliminated. There is also the recent development in the US, which marked, I think, the start of a new phase for EDI. And the executive order by the US president is titled Ending Radical and Wasteful Government DEI Programs and Preferencing, We can read there, I'm reading from the screen, that the previous administration forced illegal and immoral discrimination programs going by the name diversity, equity, and inclusion. This seems to be an oxymorous pairing of EDI with illegal and immoral discrimination is something that reflects the criticality of the current time. EDI associated to discrimination rather than diversity. And I believe that this development is probably a consequence of the above concerns on the unjust implication of pluralism beared by some groups of people. This is something that we have to brainstorm on. There is to say that the above executive order put several persons in despair, and therefore we have the duty, we have the challenge of moving forward. We have to overcome this critical time. And I believe that the US order, the recent developments may offer a window of opportunities, provided we are able, we have the will to reflect, to brainstorm on what has been done so far in EDI, what has been the criticism, what have been the critical issues, and we are motivated to overcome them. So I believe we need indeed a strategy that allows us to transform this critical time in a window of opportunity. And we need this strategy because moving forward with EDI is essential. And the strategy should set the basis for an extended discussion characterized by openness and willingness to accept a diverse set of opinions. It is necessary that current privileged categories are willing and ready to revisit their consolidated targets in terms of career opportunity, in terms of scientific assessment, in terms of social dimension at large. A major problem, in my view, is the reluctance of individuals and communities to embrace cultural diversity. A relevant example is the general opposition of high-income countries to migration, even those countries who support EDI. In the scientific arena, similar behavior is the opposition to interpretations that are not considered valid by the mainstream. We have to overcome this. Lack of consensus over a scientific assumption or interpretation cannot be a valid reason for excluding persons from a debate. It is extremely important that we keep in mind that EDI can progress if we foster environments where respect is earned through fairness, trust, and mutual understanding rather than imposition. Within the EDI community, I believe that sometimes we have raised concerns regarding our attitude. So, what are, in my opinion, the essential ingredients to move towards a bright future? First of all, the first ingredient is the willingness of the EDI community to take stock, to reflect on what we have done, and to plan efficient initiative to ensure that really all people are included into the concept of diversity, equality, and inclusivity. And debate, freedom of speech, respect of other opinions, positivity and mentoring are essential ingredients. Accepting diversity and really accepting diversity is the key to inclusivity. EDI means reaching the target of others rather than our own target. EDI means sharing opportunities with others and at the expense of our own benefit. EDI means a continuous revision of targets and initiatives with a broad vision. EDI means adaptation to a diverse set of cultures. The benefit from EDI is not individual benefit. It is a benefit for the community, which in turn automatically implies that we all live in a better world. Enjoying people rather than fighting against the diverse ones is the key to a bright future. Once again, thank you very much for the invitation to speak today. I wish you a great meeting and please contact me if you would like to further discuss EDI with me. Thank you very much.